welcome to a new episode of Advancing Consciousness series with Franco Di Nicola. This is a place where people can come to gain further insight and clarity as to what is going on and how we can shift things on a personal and global level, while also accessing higher levels of consciousness and awareness. We bring this series to you free of charge so that many are able to access this information. However, if you resonate with what Franco shares and you would like to support his work to get more content out, contributions are welcomed and greatly appreciated. A link is in the description and will be provided in the chat if you feel guided to do so. Also, we have many previous workshops, such as the most recent, Bringing Out the New You to Play in the New World, along with our membership program, Let's Talk About You, where like-minded people come together bi-weekly to talk about the topics requiring deeper understanding and clarity. All of these are available on Teachable, and we encourage you to check them out as they are great resources at very affordable prices to assist in better understanding this human experience. The Teachable link will also be provided in the chat and is also in the description. And lastly, don't forget to share. As more of us come together who are creating shifts in themselves, the more effective it will be to shift things globally. Thank you for joining us and being part of the change. Enjoy today's broadcast.
So welcome everybody to another episode of Advancing Consciousness series. This is episode 31. And today we're looking at a very powerful topic, and it's actually going to involve a process. So just to give you a little idea of this advancing consciousness that we're playing with at this point in time, it's about really stimulating, reminding you, activating, and utilizing everything that is available for you to elevate your access not only to your consciousness on how you create your personal reality and assist in co-creating the planet of landscape and everything else that we are doing. Now, of course, everything that we go through personally does affect the collective, but at the first level it affects you, and then all the different connections that you already established through the family dynamics and so forth. However, never with an expectation that they will shift one way or another, or to play with any part of that experience. So today, what are we looking at? We're looking at how to shift our state, view, and focus. This is perfect because I'm experiencing that myself today. Because as I stand in front of you today, as we're going to do this beautiful process and this work, I am dealing with a beautiful 0 to 10 migraine at 11. I know it started off at 12 plus at one point in time, but here we are. So as we're doing this, we're going to shift our state. And this state involves our state of how we see things, feel things, how we're experiencing things emotionally, but also physically. And that is what makes it so powerful. So in changing our state becomes much more important and much more usable at this time because of all the things that are playing out. Now, there's two parts to this. There's the part that's playing out that we are experiencing as right now, specifically, we're going through some very powerful activation, very powerful energetic flows. We even have the frequency of the planet and the frequency coming from the sun have even raised the Schumann resonance extremely high and has provided the opportunity for us to really stimulate that shifting within ourselves, but also throughout the whole planet. So it is causing a lot of different scenarios playing out. But the second part of it, while this is all playing out, it is activating us and could be bringing up for many of us old wounds and old memories, and it brings up old programs, definitions of ourselves, labels of ourselves, even trapped emotional energies and connections to others too that may be stimulating that in one way or another. So with all of that, at times where we're going through our daily day-to-day playful experience, and a lot of us don't see it as playful, especially when we're going through all these intensities, that it seems very heavy, and it can feel heavy from a human perspective, from a physical perspective, from an emotional perspective, from a mind perspective. It can feel that way. And the body itself, even if it's feeling that heaviness, it is really not getting lost in it. It may be purging, activating, and demonstrating older programs and memories and so forth within it, but it does not go into a shock, because in fact it is very much so welcoming what is coming through, so that it can actually go back to its original design, because the body flourishes in that state and really chooses to want to go back into that state, and it's going to do its part. When it comes to the human entity, of course, it's not going to be in a situation where it's going to resist any of this part. It may be demonstrating certain parts to us that may need to be addressed, or whatever it is, or some of the agreements that have been that need to be purged or experienced and then purged. But it's not getting lost in whatever's going on. It's actually, I can't even use the word enjoy, because it's actually so welcoming, and it's allowing all of that to come in, because there's an excitement about to upgrade and restore. Because you have to understand, the human entity was here from the original design, the 15,000 years ago, and then for a whole sequence of 5,000 years before all this modification is. And now, because it's saturated itself with the 10,000 years and using those opportunities to advance, it really feels that return back to that original design with its upgrades. So it has an excitement. Of course, the soul has several levels of it. First of all, it gets to play in a much higher vibration, higher state of consciousness, and it can actually do what it came here to do and offer whatever it is. But it also is part of the experience. So it's actually expanding itself, enlightening itself in a very, very powerful way, more so than it was possible before. And some of the souls have been here several times and, have not had the opportunity to play it out in the way there is, because there has been a lot of resistance for every soul that has been coming here for the last 10,000 years, in the sense where no matter what it wanted to demonstrate, there was so much heaviness and so much encodement from a body perspective, from Gaia itself, but from the human entity's perspective, the mind perspective. The inverted matrix was streaming in a very powerful way. There was so much reflection of inverted 3D, 2D around us, and those energies were very low in a form of stagnation. So a soul may have had the best of intention to kind of stimulate things, and it may have, and in many cases, has triggered or at least prepared some of the encodements, or prepared some of the openings to allow us to be able to go through the changes that we're going now. Of course, the souls that are coming now are super excited, and as you can see, we had a huge increase in population over the last 50 or 60 years. We had a much smaller, in fact, it was like a quarter of the amount of the population we have now. Why is that? Is it just because we're having babies? Well, yeah, that can say that, but that's not the reason. The reason is because the need to contribute and to be part of this experience, and the luster of coming here to play here has been such elevated, because a lot of the other planets that had a certain form of polarity had wrapped that up. And a lot of these souls did not get a chance to go there, so it wanted to experience it and be part of it. And some other souls have been there and have brought some of the skill sets from that to contribute and participate. So when we are living day to day now, of course we're exposed to all types of things. Many of us are exposed to what we call the collective, the media, whatever it is, and all the stories and associations of that, all the beautiful playmates that we play with that are creating and recreating over and over again, and projecting in a very powerful way this inverted matrix, inverted 3D and 2D that, even though we wrapped it up to a certain degree, but many of us, including all of us, to some degree, is still reflecting that, still playing all of that out. So what's happening right now is that as we're going through life and all the things that are playing out, it can alter our state very instantaneously. Now, I know a lot of you have experienced triggers and buttons get pushed and so forth, and you can go from a happy state to a sad state. You can go from a happy state to an angry state. You can go from a state of feeling euphoric to a depressed state. There's so many things that can occur. Now, you may have the best of intentions to start your day, but then you're going to encounter different scenarios, situations, so forth. Those are all offerings, of course, offerings for us to kind of look at any remaining old stuff that we need to let go of, but it's also offerings for us to really see how we can contribute. But at times, what happens if we still have older states that are active within ourselves or are used as pattern defaults, then of course, guess what happens? We go into those states. The same thing is those states and also some of our older ways of looking at things that we haven't finished purging actually change the view of what we see. We can have a perfect opportunity, which is the case in all cases, really. You're looking at a viewpoint now that can easily shift based on our programs and so forth. For example, you're here and you're playing with a group of people, or you're just observing certain things and you're just going for a walk, whatever it may be. You could be engaging in anything. And what happens is your view is impaired, well, not impaired, let's call it filtered and colored and shaped in the way that any of those remaining programs may exist within yourself, so that you're looking at a possibility, or in this case, always an opportunity to be able to experience certain parts of it and to really use it in a very powerful way. And what happens is we don't see it. We almost like get blinded. We only see through the version or the viewpoint of what our programs or conditionings and so forth that may have played out. So then that ends up shaping a certain part of what we can call, at this point in time, our reality viewpoint. So we're looking at what we see around us. So that becomes another factor of it. And then the last part is the focus, where our attention goes. The focus, what does that mean? Where are we putting our attention? So something gets triggered within you, something plays out, a pattern plays out, and then what happens is our focus goes directly there and stays there. And even if we're going away and doing something else, our mind keeps focusing us, specifically the ego at this point, back to just what happened or didn't happen, or what should have happened and whatever else that may have played out. Maybe even what it got triggered. So now you're talking about judgment, you're talking about, a comparison or something of that nature. So your focus now goes into that state. So the thing is, here we are today to look at it and say, okay, there's that part. Now, of course, many of us are having a lot of powerful symptoms physically and are experiencing it in a very powerful way. So, and I have a lot of skill sets on that, and can't say I have mastered it because, I have to deal with it day to day, depending on what the flavor of the day is, of whatever it is, energetically triggers and so forth. So now you go, okay, what am I going to stop my life each and every time that I have this going on, or do I somehow access a different state of yourself to be able to say, okay, it's there, I'm having this experience, I acknowledge it, of course you want to feel it, you want to be fully present, but then you're not going to attach to it and you're not going to judge it, you're not going to say, okay, I don't want any more of this. Yeah, okay, you may feel that, absolutely. I can completely relate with that part. But at the same time, guess what? You're looking at it and say, okay, great, I'm going to feel this sensation, I'm going to be there. However, am I going to put the focus on it? Is it going to be used as a screen to project what I'm going to see and what am I going to play with and where am I going? So that goes back to the view. So now the focus is on a physical sensorial. I'm going to start seeing things through that viewpoint from that physical sensorial. But then we got the state. It changes our state. What we would do or not do, how we would feel about something, or if we're going to engage or not, or anything of that nature. It's like even the example now. I could have easily canceled or postponed this event, this episode. Say, okay, great, I can barely get my head off the pillow or something of that nature. I'm not feeling that great. Absolutely. However, what did I do? I practiced what I was going to talk about. In a sense, saying, okay, great. What am I going to do to change my state, view, and focus? Of course, commitment is very powerful. So having that commitment within yourself and say, unless I collapse, I'm going to do this. And then, of course, there's going to be distraction in the focus part. And you say, okay, we're going to put that focus aside because we're not going to focus on that. I'm not going to look through that focus, and I'm not going to engage in that state of sickness, uncomfortableness, unfunctionality, or anything of that nature. Yeah, you may be having that, but you can have the capacity to be able to experience yourself outside of that framework, that default, poor me, not feeling great, this and that, finding excuses why not to do certain things and so forth. Now, there's going to be occasions that you're flat out, and that's absolutely understandable. And that usually is part of what you need, some downtime or whatever it may be at this point in time. But there's a respect and honor for that part of you that says, okay, we got to shut this down and we're going to take some time. However, you can also notice as you're going along, do I still need to put focus on this or feed it or whatever it is? That's the choice we have. So what are we going to do today? We want to look at how we can shift that part. So we're going to do a process. Well, the process is not a meditation or anything of that nature. We're going to look at some of the things that you're doing with yourself. Now, of course, if there's anything particular that we have not covered or anything of that nature when we're going through this process, you can just put it into the comment, and of course, Kimberly will share that, and we can enhance or cover those bases of whatever hasn't got covered effectively to your liking or to what you may require. So when we're looking at shifting our state, we're all experienced in shifting our state. A lot of it is automatic, of course. So the thing is, you've all experienced in one way or another, if you see something or experience something or hear something or, just, diving into a certain default, you will notice how the state changes. Because all of a sudden your focus and everything goes into that particular state. And you can go from, like I was saying earlier, you can go in a bliss state, euphoric, whatever, to a sad, depressing, upset, anger, you name it, right? So that being the case, so if you want to be part of the exercise, what I would suggest at this point in time, you can close your eyes because that may be more benefit, unless you're driving or doing something that you need your attention, then I would suggest to do this later. But if you're okay to do so and there's nothing to disrupt, I know I had somebody that say, well, I drive a Tesla, I just close my eyes, there's no problem because it's going to drive automatically. We don't even suggest that. So let's not even go there. So at this point, if you're not able to close your eyes, don't. If you can, just close your eyes. And what you're going to do actually, I'm just going to walk with you through it, is that you're going to access some state that is current and has its own conditional pattern of response for you that somewhat is reoccurring and does change your state, changes your view, and changes your focus. Something that you personally have experienced and are experiencing time to time. Something that you say, I'd like to look at that one. I'd like to go through that process of addressing that one thing. Is there anything you want to add, or are you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So let's do that. Let's close our eyes. And let's bring into our attention a scenario, a situation, a memory. Now, this memory can go back right down to childhood if necessary. It doesn't matter, wherever it takes you. Because a lot of times what happens in childhood is carried over. So we want to get something that's current, something that is actually playing out. It doesn't matter where it started. If it started as a child, no problem. But if it's active now and it changes your state. So for example, you don't get something that you want, and now you go into a sad state, or you go into an angry state, or you go into a depressed state, or you go into a state where you have a certain expectation and you may feel a certain specific way. You may have many different ways you can experience it. So that would be an example for you to look at and say, okay, great, let's go into that. Let's see ourselves. So with your eyes closed, bring forth a particular experience, a particular scenario, situation that has played out or continue to play, or you may be in the middle of it right at this moment. Doesn't matter. So that's see ourselves envisioning that. So take a few moments. I'm going to continue talking and walking through with you, but just pay attention to that. Now, if you need to use the breath, 2 or 3 breaths, completely focus on the breath to bring it to that state, that's perfect. Let's do that. If it's not required, then you can just close your eyes and just see a vision of that experience. And it doesn't matter even if it is a phobia, if this case. And just go into that and just see yourself in that experience. Now, if you can bring it up as much as possible where you can actually feel the emotional component or the energy around that, that'll be great. That'll just bring it up to the next level. If you can feel how you feel each time it comes up or when it has come up the most, then let's be with that. So that what we're going to do is we're going to step into it and experience it. Now, of course, we're all holding the energy for each other so that we will experience it, but even if we're experiencing it, we're not going to get lost in it to the depth that you would probably do so doing it alone. However, every time you repeat this, now this process is for you to use along the way. So let's be present with that particular experience, that emotional charge or anything of that. And we're going to welcome it. We're not going to resist it. We're just going to observe it. We're going to be part of it. So if you feel, for example, you feel somewhat of a claustrophobic experience, then see yourself in a scene, could be even a dream, could be whatever, seeing yourself in that experience. What is playing out? Especially if you've had repetitive versions of those things playing out, just see yourself in that. And just be present and be present with all that you're experiencing, and then we'll see how that works out because we're going to walk through looking at it.
Even if you wake up in a funk, that kind of feeling where it's hard to get out and feel motivated with your day, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you can use that. So if you're in a funk in the daytime, so you can just remember or bring that experience of feeling, experiencing a funk in the morning, so you can go into that too and just see yourself waking up with that funk. Allow it to come there because the memory's there. The memory is there. It's not outside of you. So allow that to come forth and just be present with what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, what you see. Even the energies or anything of that nature that you may feel that alters in you as you're in that funk. You may even have physical sensations. So let's look at this other part. If you're feeling that you have certain pains and discomfort and so forth, allow yourself to be present with that experience right now. And if you have any sensations that are more sensorial, like smell, color, shapes, or anything of that nature, just let it be present. We're going to acknowledge it. We're going to welcome it. Some people may have a reaction. And if you're starting to have a very intense reaction with that particular experience, You're just going to say to yourself, I can change all of this right now. I accept this experience. I now appreciate this experience. And I have a profound love for this experience. Now just see yourself taking whatever you're experiencing. If you're feeling some intensity of emotions or whatever it is, with love, just feel the love for it, and just see yourself just gently picking it up wherever that is, or whatever's going on. If it's even a dream state, memory, or anything of that nature, just put it into the field outside of you. Just see yourself just picking it up and putting it there. If you're having an emotional charge, just feel the love for it. And then even if it feels like a tight suit, just see yourself unzipping the suit and just put it into the field. And that suit could be just your body. And if there's a particular sensation physically in a certain part of your body, you can just put your hands on it or just feel with it, be present with it. I thank you, I appreciate you, I love you. And just see yourself taking that pain and whatever you're feeling, that strong sensation, and just put it in the field just outside of you. The field's all around you. If you're feeling a claustrophobic or feeling restricted, which many of us feel because sometimes we feel restricted or claustrophobic in our own life. Yeah, there may be a physical component of it too, seeing ourselves in a small compartment, but a lot of times that represents feeling stuck in our current state. That being the case, if you feel in a small compartment, see yourself just opening the compartment. If you see yourself on the ground, just stand up. Just see it in your mind, standing up, and you're standing up outside of whatever's confining you. If it's a particular scenery for you, say a work environment, see yourself opening a door or just walking out of that scene into either another scene or a blank scene. And you could look back, you can look back what's there, but you're outside of it now. If you're feeling a powerful sensation physically after we put it into the field, you can put your hand on there and just keep sending it love and feel either a warmth or cooling effect which will tune down whatever the sensation may be. We're not going to force it. We're not going to have any expectation. If you have a scenery where you're engaging with somebody, could be a family, dynamic family, partner friendship, could be anything at this point in time, just see yourself able to step back a few steps. You can put your hand out too, saying, okay, freeze frame. and watch them stop. And if they continue to chat, that's okay. You're going to step back. And you're now going to look at it as the observer. In fact, you're actually walking back to see it now as a screen shot where it may be still moving or doing whatever, but you're not in the screen any longer. You're stepping back from the screen and just observing the screen. And what will assist you is also being appreciative and thankful for that view, that experience, that engagement. Send it love, but you are now choosing to participate or not any longer. This activates your own self-empowerment. If you have a fear that is in a sense holding you back, for example, feeling that you're not going to be able to make it through, say, a financial situation or through some other scenario, just be present with that. Just observe it. Allow whatever emotions are coming up. Just keep acknowledging the emotions. As they come up and you've acknowledged them, just thank each emotion that you feel. Remember, these emotions cannot be felt elsewhere if you didn't have this particular physicality. So it's an actual gifting in a sense. And just feel deep love for it. Appreciation and love for what you're seeing. And just put it into the field. And what you're putting in the field is the whole vision and the story around that. And even if the scene is still there for you to deal with, we're just going to look at it as the observer. We're not going to react to it. We're not going to judge it. We're not going to lay a story or definition around it. It's a beautiful creation, a perfect creation, but now we're going to look at it for what it is. It's part of your scenery with the freedom to you to experience it differently. In fact, if you'd like to see yourself, for example, you're holding something that you cannot pay, or numbers on a bank account that is probably minus or very minimal compared to what you would require. Just acknowledge what you're seeing. Be appreciative that it's even there, because that's a beautiful creation. Send it love. And just see those numbers change. Plug in whatever you feel. No expectations though. Just put in whatever you feel. In your mind, see those digits change. And see yourself how you feel when it's changed, whatever the scenario playing out is. The reduction and or possibly removal of the physical ailment, intensity. The scenario with engaging with someone or feeling trapped or something of that nature is stepping outside of it. You're outside of it, so see how that feels. Create a new feeling around that. And when I say create, it's just be observant of how it feels with that no longer being there. So when we're doing this, you're acknowledging every part, you're appreciating every part, you're sending it love, you're putting it into the field, and then start to experience yourself without that old scenario being there. You're now bringing in the new scenario, which is you, creating your new reality. Now, there's going to be the occasion where the ego say, that's not possible, you're just making the stuff up. So acknowledge that with the ego. I thank you. So be appreciative. I love you. However, I free you. We're not playing there. We're out of this. Because I am a master creator. I'm an empowered being. Use what words work for you, because you are exactly that empowered being. Nothing is created and experienced unless, in one way or another, you are participating, allowing, engaging, being active within it, even when it seems like you're not consciously involved. There is a level of consciousness that is always involved. But it's involved there to assist you to create a shift within you. Nothing is there to take you down. Everything is there to expand you. Let's take the example of the claustrophobic component. It is only a reflection. Now, I understand at times people say, well, we have an old experience. But that old experience was only the catalyst to activate what you already had as a program or a feeling within yourself. So to examine the claustrophobic part, this is an example, the claustrophobic part, and say you were held down or something occurred as a younger person or at different stages, and maybe you've had other opportunities where it was triggered going into a smaller place. It cannot play out in that form, even if it's coming from a past life, unless there is a program or belief system that you are limited, powerless, incapable of changing any part of it, a belief that that has power over you. Because the moment you realize it does not have power over you, it shifts tremendously. It doesn't matter how many times you may have experienced or impact. Even feeling small, powerless as a child because you felt or believed or took on the conditioning that somehow you had no say in the matter. That whatever was playing out was going to be bigger than you and can dictate your life. So we choose to acknowledge that. Welcome it, appreciate what was involved to create that. Have love and appreciation for its creation and all the experiences it provided. It does not matter if it's polarized or not. We were playing in polarized world, and we're purging the polarized part, but that was still that. It was the polarized world, and that's fine. But we're going to shift out of that. So if you have a viewpoint of seeing yourself oppressed, powerless, just acknowledge it. Thank that experience. Send it love. And then say to yourself, I can change anything and everything. So if a memory comes up as a small child being held down or told, you're now going to shift it. You're going to say, no, not participating any longer, and get up and walk away. Or get up and do whatever you felt that you wanted to do. Not as a reaction, not as a panic, but with ease. This has been experienced over and over again, even with people that I've worked with where they have been buried to death in a past life, in a past experience, and have been reflecting in this life, not just that situation, but feeling that they were dying inside because their world was getting smaller and smaller because the memory was that they were being buried. But the moment we accepted the scenario, the situation, whatever was playing out, and thankful that you were there and sent it love, and then said, I don't have to participate. And you now dissolve what's around you by just choosing to step out of it. And that causes a whole chain event within yourself, collapsing every story that was interlaid with that one. That changes your state, your view of how you experience things. And it also changes your focus, how you create everything moving forward. Realize it or not, we use our experiences and our focus to create what we may have experienced in the past. We use whatever that may be, that was there as that memory or anything of that nature. You may have gone through what you can call an abusive life stream, where possibly sexually, possibly physically in other ways, possibly verbally, possibly by circumstance and other engagements. You acknowledge each one as the observer. I acknowledge, I see it, I thank every participant that was involved. I love and I appreciate all the participants. However, I now let that all go. You see yourself putting it all in the field. And you make a new choice from that scene or multiple scenes. And if it's coming up today, right this moment, you make it from that scene. The illusionary hold that we have about anything that we've experienced has a luring effect where we identify by it and we use to shape our world around that. And many times we use it as a way to create our own personal limits or not to address or take certain actions in certain scenarios which we feel is either a threat or something of not preference. The empowered state is not reacting or creating a defense of what we experience. We let all that go. We use a preference from an empowered state. A preference from an empowered state, you choose. Do I support this? Do I play with this? Do I go this direction or not? Do I use this as my viewpoint? Do I use this as how I feel? Do I use this as my new focal point of creating every reality moving forward from this point? We're here right now to become empowered, to take a more active, conscious state of creation, your own personal creation and the co-creation capacities that we have. Now, what I would like to share with you, each and every time that you would experience this, you go through the process of allowing yourself to experience whatever's coming up. Acknowledge it, see it in its full intensity, whatever that may be. And any associated emotions and fears around that. And all involvements of others. See yourself acknowledging it, seeing it, appreciating, being fully there. You can step back, appreciate it, appreciate the whole experience, have love for it in that appreciated state, as the creator state. And by stepping back, and then you just take that and put it into the field. And you make a new choice, the choice of no longer participating, but a choice more powerfully than not participating is participating, a choice to participate in something else, to create another experience without the limitation, I've never done it before. That's okay. Doesn't matter. I'm going to imagine it, and I'm going to experience that imagination, which will then become more vivid in form. Now, what you're also going to do, what the process we just did, for your particular scenario, you can repeat it with different scenarios, different memories, different things that come up for us. However, what I would strongly suggest as a powerful tool is to take that one event and practice with it over and over again, 3-4 times, seeing yourself going into that scenario, following the full steps, stepping into it, experiencing it, acknowledging its presence, acknowledging all the participants, acknowledging who didn't even participate, acknowledging that maybe it was a direction that was not your preference at that time. That's all perfect. Acknowledge it. Thank it for its experience. Be present with the thanks. Mean it, feel it, experience it fully. Open your heart to it. Bring it love. And see yourself stepping back from the experience and putting the experience into the field. It's like you're just putting that, because it is just a memory. And what you're going to do as you repeat the same one several times, you're restructuring the patterns and the accessibility that your mind and ego may have had around that scenario, so that it does not become the default. So what you're doing is breaking down the default. You're breaking down the pattern. You're creating a disrupt. So you're rewiring. Instead of going this direction, going A direction, you're going to allow it to go to B direction. The B direction is the direction that you are now creating in this reality. So for example, seeing yourself stuck in a career of some sort and feeling enslaved by it, what you do is see yourself in that state, experience it, acknowledge it, thank it, love it, but then see yourself doing what you love to do. You can walk away first. You can see yourself walking away. I'm using this as your imagination, as your process that we're doing now. Eventually, you will do it in action if it's suiting at whatever time it is, but you're doing it in your mind, and you're now creating the reality that you feel within yourself. And you can experience that creation and see how it aligns with you, how it feels for you, if it's an absolute next step for you. It's your new creation that supports you, who you are now. And I know you're changing, so that may support you for a while and may have to upgrade accordingly. That's okay. That's all perfect. But how it is where you are now. So by repeating it, you're changing the default response. You're changing and breaking down the pattern. The same thing with addictions. You can see yourself in the addiction. You can experience yourself in the addiction, what it feels like, the pluses and minuses. Those are labels anyways, but the plus of being, oh, now I can be more myself. Maybe I'm not so afraid to speak out. Or I feel less uncomfortable because I'm not judging myself, or I'm not focusing because it's distorting my focus. So you can look at that. You can also look and acknowledge the other part of it, how you feel afterwards. Could be the next day, could be hours later, and even the stories that you've allowed. You can observe those parts. You acknowledge it, of course. You thank even the nasties that you may have felt, the after effect. Send it love. And just put that whole experience, bit by bit, into the field. And then you make a new choice. I choose to be myself without the substance, without engaging with whatever that may be, or even a pattern of self-destruct, a pattern of going into anger or anything of that nature. A pattern of playing small. Just see yourself in that, and you just recreate that new view. Our minds are very powerful. Our capacities are very powerful, and they're becoming more and more powerful each day. This is not as difficult as it would have been before. The ego's going to say, no, that's not possible. It can't be. You know, we have a history based on that. We've had all of this. This is impactful. We have to heal from it. We're wounded. We have a wounded child, being our old version of ourselves. We have to heal. We have to go through all of that. That's how it was before. That's no longer. If you have the wounded child, or what you believe is the wounded child, the child that's gone into hiding or something of that nature, or is not feeling very good, see yourself with that version of yourself. Invite it to be present with you. And if it's going through emotional charges, give it a hug, thank it. Remind it that it's very powerful. It's reminded that it's perfectly fine. We're not stuck here. We're doing it together. That is so powerful to use those words. We're doing it together. Look, now I am you in a grown body, or at a later stage in our life. And between that older stage of you being the small to where I am now, we've had many, many experiences. We've had many, many opportunities, and we've learned and gained more consciousness. We're also in a very different energy now. And we're not here to play separation. We're going to bring you in. You bring that young version in your life. Because that young version, as much as it may have had some so-called traumatic experience, it also still holds the creativity, the imagination, the playfulness, the exuberance of life, the excitement of life, the zest of life. You already have it with you. Just bring that other part of you. Because that little child is not ashamed. It's not bashful. It's playing. It's open to play with all the beautiful beings and other playmates around, other aspects of itself. Allowing all of that. The reason we're going through this process is because it's very powerfully for us to create some powerful shifts that may have seemed something very difficult to deal with. Now, if you have something super traumatic and it puts you into a complete panic state, and you feel that you would require some assistance, then use a facilitator that will help you walk through that. If you have to back off and it's so powerful for you, then don't address that one. Just say, okay, I'm going to back off on that one, and use a facilitator for that. But at the same time, what I do strongly recommend is that if you practice on other things, smaller ones, and then bigger ones, you've already started to set the skill set and the stepping in and out, and able to clear it out and bring that higher state of yourself into the experience. Then even if you did approach the so-called bigger one, you'll be more skilled. Now, even if you don't do it alone, when you do it with a facilitator, you're already skilled, and you've already addressed many components of it. Maybe not of that particular scenarios, but other scenarios that may have stemmed from it, or may have somehow a connection of some sort. It does not matter at this point. And you will notice that if you get triggered and you're going into a particular reaction, all you do is be present with whatever you're experiencing. Acknowledge, be there in that experience. Wow, okay, I'm feeling this. And it can alter your state, whatever it may be. You could see yourself and just receive it. Don't resist it. Oh my God, it's coming again. No, you just go into it. Feel it. You say to yourself, I choose to experience it. I choose to feel it. I choose to be present with this. Because when we do that, when we choose to experience it, choose to be present, already it creates a shift. Because now you're bringing an empowered state of you to observe it, an empowered state of you to experience it, a power of you to be present with it and accept it. Be there, present, acknowledge it. And if it takes you 20 times to say thank you to it, do so. I thank you. I appreciate it. It's a beautiful creation. Beautiful set of experiences. Yes, beautiful pattern, beautiful response, beautiful reaction. And I love it. I love every part of it. And I know it has served. So I love it. But I also know I'm not bound to it. So I choose to see that whole reaction, response, whatever may have been triggered, and just see it with beautiful love. You can wrap it in light, whatever you want to do it, and just put it into the field. It changes your state. But to bring it to the next level, you see what is presently available for you there by seeing what's available, and then you say, okay, what do I prefer to experience now? What is it going to look like? So use your vision, your imagination to reshape it to whatever you choose. And if you're not experiencing it physically right at that moment, just be in the vision and the energy of it. So even if it's not shaping it instantaneously, you're going into that experience, because then you're accessing that creative aspect of yourself, including any sensorial pains that you may feel. If you're having it, be present with it. Acknowledge it. Thank it. Caress it if you have to. I would say caress it anyways. I love you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for showing me these intensities, these really powerful sensorial experiences, which I couldn't do without the body. Caress it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Be genuine with it. Feel it. Then you could see the bits and pieces of those intensities and just take them up and just put them into the field. And then go into the experience. After you've done that, feel that experience with that sensation being different. Feeling warmth, feeling the coolness, feeling not that intensity. Now, if it keeps presenting, you say, hey, what do you want to tell me today? But just be present with it. Acknowledge it. Don't deny it. We have a tendency to deny pain, deny sensorial intensities of any sort. Because I know we have a judgment around it. We have a label around it. This is good. This is bad. I accept this. I don't accept this, and whatever else. But that also puts separation to it. This can engages from us to experience something different. So we want to go into it. Be present with it. Love it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love it. I caress you. You're amazing. To whatever that may be. And if it's just by doing that and seeing yourself just putting all those pieces into the field with no expectations, and then just experience, feel yourself experiencing what it would feel like in your preference. You'll have to repeat this. Like, you will already feel that experience of it shifting, but you will repeat it. And what you're doing is you're changing that energy, you're changing that programming, the memory of a certain whatever's playing out. But you repeat it every so often. The first time, yes, repeat it 3 or 4 times. See yourself going through it. Each time you'll notice there'll be a shift. And then each time it shows up, you do the same process. And what you're doing is you're instructing that we no longer have to put there. But we don't have to have a judgment. If there's a story or judgment around that, you want to visit those parts. Acknowledge it's present. Acknowledge its story. Acknowledge all of that. Thank it, love it, and then put that in the field too. I know some people teach immediate state changes. You can do that. However, if you want to make it a very powerful way where it actually stays that way, then you just do the process I've just shared. And if you have some other one that's even better, then that's great. But just notice. Because you have to repeat it as you go through, because then what happens is you're re-instructing it. So those patterns shift. They dissolve. Those defaults. Same thing with the addictions and so forth. You love it, but you make a new choice. And every time it comes up, you do the same thing. And eventually it starts to change. Sometimes it can change instantaneously because it was already ready to pop. It wasn't there to hold on. And you remind yourself, I am here now in my most empowered state, and I choose to create my reality in the newest form that I am right now. Is there any clarification that we need to add? Okay. So just to go through it a little more descriptive. As I was saying earlier in the process, if you see yourself in a confined set of rules, box, or even this could be your life dynamics, could be your relationship, can be your work environment, can be whatever. So when you see yourself in there, because right now a lot of people are feeling restricted because of all the things that are playing out. Feeling disempowered, not able to choose if you're going to be able to go do this or that, whatever it is. So what I suggest for you, this is a recommendation and something that you can choose to See yourself in that confinement. Be fully in that confinement. Experience it, even the energies around it. Emotions, accept it, acknowledge all of it. See that in your confinement. Close your eyes and be present with it. I'm not saying to do it now, but I'm saying each and every time, see yourself in that confinement. And when you're fully acknowledged with that, then at that point, you just access your current state of that empowerment and see that there is a door. Because the door opens up, because you're going to open the door and you're going to walk out from that scenario. You'll see it in your mind. You experience it. And then when you're here, experience how it feels to be outside of that. Go fully into the experience. Feel how it feels within you, the freedom, the empowerment, because now you've made a new choice that you made, not a new choice that you felt stuck in. I know it's a choice to stay in the box too, but a lot of times we limit the possibility to see that there are other choices. So whatever you may be experiencing, see yourself outside of it. But first, always go into the experience. Specifically, if it comes up for you and you have the opportunity to do it because you're having waking out of bed and you feel that state. So before hopping out of bed, how did you call it before? When you get out of bed?
In a funk.
In a funk, okay. So you wake up, you're in a funk. Before you get out of bed, allow yourself to be in the funk. Experience the funk. Be there in the funk. Acknowledge the funk. Thank the funk. Thank you. This is pretty cool. I love it. And then just see, after you've done that several times, you take that funk energy and everything else and just put it into the field, which is just outside of you. And then, still lying in bed, before you open up your eyes and whatever else, see yourself without the funk. See yourself in what you prefer to feel like. Just be in that. And you have to jump into that. You see it because the ego might be a little bit persistent in trying to keep the funk in place, because the funk will keep you in that controlled state. So see yourself in that mode. In non-funk, see yourself in more possibility. Just keep envisioning that. Make it, the more you envision it, the more you experience it in your minds, the more you start to activate other parts of you that actually support that feeling, that experience. While you're doing that, it's already changing the field around you anyways. So it's already changing the scenery. So that when you come out of that in non-funkiness, did I say that correctly? Funkiness, non-funkiness, you're going to notice the day is going to play out completely different. Because what happens is you shift your state, first and foremost, you're shifting your state, you're shifting your view and your focus, which are all part of your creation. So then you're going to see the versions of the people engaged that will be that new focus, that will be in non-funkiness. Because if you go in a funkiness, then you're going to see a lot of things playing out that match that funkiness. Even the people's version of themselves that would support you in the funkiness may play a particular role to stimulate and remind you that you're in a funk and that the day just sucks, or the day is going to be not to your preference. So that's what you do. So you're looking at it. So we have this new empowered opportunity of seeing ourselves in these states. So, a lot of people talk about envisioning. Well, the envisioning has become much more powerful. But what you're going to do is not only envision it, you're going to feel it, you're going to be present with it, and that starts to change your state, your physical state, and changes the chemistry, changes the defaults in the operating system within yourself, but it's also changing the screen around you. It's changing first your immediate reality in your space, and then it just keeps rippling on. So that when you're in that, you're actually experiencing yourself. Now, you may be having a funk for a while. It may not be just a morning funk, starting the day that way. You may be in a funk for a while. Makes no difference. Just take the time, experience the funkiness, whatever that may be. Acknowledge it fully. I'm not telling you to just do it instantaneously. Just be in it. Feel it. Don't resist it. Don't judge it. Because a lot of times what happens is we have an experience where, we've got to push it away, got to push it away, got to push it away. And what happens, it just lingers. And a lot of times it gets more powerful. But you can't never experience it fully. You experience it, but you don't experience it fully. But when I'm talking about fully, experience it in a state that is very empowered. In a state that you actually have the capacity to shift it. So by allowing that funkiness to be right there, and you're feeling it physically, you're feeling it emotionally, you're feeling it in every aspect, energetically and otherwise. And by being there, you can easily, while you're there, just, wow, I'm going to be in it. It's like you're jumping into a pool of water. That's quite cool. Oh my God, I got to get out of here. Or you can, okay, I'm going to go through the full sensation of the coolness or the coldness or whatever it is. And while you're there, what happens is adjusting, because it's accepting it, it's not resisting it, that you start to feel everything that it has to offer for you. And once you're doing that, okay, once you're experiencing it, be in that, step into the appreciation of the experience. Going back to that example of jumping into cool water, be an appreciation for the coolness, the wetness, and you being in there at that point in time. Appreciate it and going into a state of love, because that is offering a beautiful experience. Doesn't matter how the body may have judged it at first, but when you go into that love, it will alter how you experience it. And then you have that part that says, yeah, I could stay in here, but I can also step out of it. So you see yourself and say, okay, great. I'm going to move away from this. I'm going to let go of that. That's not my experience that I need to play with anymore. And when you do that, then you go into that empowered state. What do I choose to experience right now? What do I really feel in resonance of what direction I want to go? How do I want to experience my life? Okay, maybe not the coolness of that water. Maybe not that dynamics of whatever was playing out in your life. So you start. And then what you do is you create in your mind, fully engaged, seeing people coming in. But again, when you're doing this, don't have any expectations, because a lot of times what happens, the expectations actually shifts, because a lot of the expectations are defined in a specific way that the collective or what we have adopted as a programming. So you want to see the experience of what is unfolding, who comes along, what plays out, but at the same time, I have no expectation it's going to be that way, because that way it will shape what is most beneficial by everyone and yourself, mainly yourself and everyone else, because they're all part of you. And then it could be even better or slightly different to provide other opportunities when you don't have the expectation. So it's very powerful. A lot of times our expectations want us out of a particular scenario, but in fact, there's so much gifting that we miss out, because that experience is preparing us and sharing with us something grander until we're ready. And then it could go into the direction that we want, or something better, or something slightly different. Doesn't matter at this point. So you could see how that works out. So in essence, that's how you shift. You play with this. You play with it over and over again. And you'll see that it shifts the patterns within you, your defaults, and your old world starts to fade away. The old world, again, is always back to the definitions, the stories, the labels that we have applied, the emotional charges, the memories that we have stored. At times you're also going to see stories that may have been put in place that you've adopted and so forth, because if I play this role, then I do not have to empower myself, and I can be the victim, or I can be in a situation where somebody won't even bother me because I'm damaged goods, or I am, this is with me, or whatever it is. I have an excuse. Well, that's not empowered. You may think it is. That's still disempowered. So you want to go into the situation where you say, well, I want to be in an empowered state because, look, if you hold on to a particular experience to give you an out on something, that is not empowered. You're allowing the situation and everybody to play out in that situation to keep you out of some experience of some sort. However, watch this empowerment. You dissolve those parts, those stories, and whatever else by going through the process. Then you say, I'm now, as an empowered state, I'm going to make a new choice. I'm not only making a choice, I'm going to go with my preference. So if somebody's expecting something from you, let me give you an example. Some people hold a state where they're not well, for example, or a state where, they're emotionally unstable or, very reactive and so forth. So nobody will mess with them. Nobody will expect anything from them or something of that nature. So now you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to hold on to this because it gives me the out. But how much of your life are you experiencing? How much empowerment are you truly? Now, there is a certain amount of choice that you're doing in there, but how powerful are you? However, you say, okay, I'm not going to support this any longer. I'm going to step out of it. So you're basically going to eliminate what that may have created for you, and then then you step into your empowered state, and you say, okay, I was using that excuse not to be asked anything. Well, now you're in an empowered state. Same individuals. I'm just using this as an example. Turn around and, oh, I expect you to be doing this, this, and this now that you're okay. And you say, yes, absolutely. However, I'm not really participating or choosing to participate. It's not my preference at this point. I may have a preference to do a little bit of it or none of it. Then you're now responding and utilizing your empowerment, your free choice. From a conscious state, meaning I am making the choice. I am not creating a scenario as a buffer or filter or as an excuse. I'm now saying, no, not going there. Now, if we have an issue with going to that empowered state, meaning, oh, I'm not capable, I'm not going to be able to say no, I'm not going to be able to make my own choice, people are going to expect something and I'm going to feel bad, then you want to go through all of those stories. You want to visit each one and find out what that was all about, go through the acknowledgement process and of course the appreciation, the love, and then letting those parts go, and again clearing out those patterns. Anything on your end? We're good. Is it clear enough for you at this point? Does it make sense? Is there something you want to share of any process that you have done around shifting any part of it? You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, you pretty much covered it. Really is about stepping outside of it and going into kind of an observer mode. And I know sometimes it can be difficult in the moment because your emotions are triggered and your ego mind wants to tell you a whole whack of stories about what you're experiencing. And because I do the funk one every once in a while. I don't know if it's the energies coming in or if it's just me and I'm just in a funky space. And sometimes it is difficult to get out of that space and make the most of your day, because it really can put a different perspective on your day if you stay in that space. So if you can, go into that heart center and step out and go outside of it and put it into the field, like you said, and create from that space. And you just got to keep doing it. All these things that you talk about and we talk about, it's like exercising. You just have to keep doing it, and it gets easier over time. And then you see the benefits too if you stick with it. It really does help.
Yeah, and it's not forever, any part of it, which is the beauty of it. So the statement you made about, the funkiness, could it be the energies? The energies do contribute, but the energies are only contributing to bring to the surface that what's there. It's like the energy doesn't create funkiness, okay? It may illuminate certain things in your life, illuminate the scenery around you, and then you may have a response, or you may look at it a certain way because of what it's being illuminated. And then you want to look at it, why am I seeing it this way? You know, you want to look at that story, the program, or whatever it may be at that point. That's because it's like this. You're in a room and the lights are dim, so you don't see the dirt in the room. So let's say like these waves of energy coming in, and I'm not saying that what you're going to see is dirt, but you're going to see things you weren't be able to see, a little bit more details. Okay, so every burst of energy that we're going through, and there's many of them now, and we're in the midst of another one, and it's very powerful, and that's why I mentioned that in the beginning. It's going to illuminate that room. It's going to illuminate your life. It's going to illuminate certain programs and stuff that you may have, certain patterns and so forth. When it's illuminating, then you're going to look at it. And of course, it's going to illuminate any possible judgment around it. So it may give you the opportunity or the experience of funkiness. Then you want to look at it and say, okay, well, yeah, it is a powerful wave coming in, and it has illuminated, and I'm feeling the funkiness now. However, what's the funkiness about? What am I funky about? What am I seeing? What's being triggered? What am I looking at here that I need to look at? What do I need to observe? Because again, you're always stepping into observing. And this is why I was saying right from the beginning, these powerful energies are going to bring up emotions, bring up stories, bring up older states of ourselves. And some of it may make you feel funky. Some of you may feel frustrated, may feel angry, irritated. It can be all types of things. So you want to look at it and say, okay, great, what is that? What is it presenting? What am I looking at? Because you want to step back always as an observer, and then go, of course, acknowledge what you see, walk it through it and acknowledge what you see. Be in thankfulness, be in love with it, and then purge it. Go ahead.
Michael's just asking, when you say put into the field, Franco, just what do you mean? How?
Okay, so just give you a quick little thing. This is well, that's a pretty nasty drawing there. This is no reflection of how it truly is, but I have to show something. So say this is source. The field is source. It's what we're in. It's in this field, there's energy, there's consciousness, there's awareness, there's isness, and there's creation within it. We're in that field. There we are. And we're talking about universes, galaxies, planets, different forms. Everything exists within it. You're not outside of it. You cannot be outside of it, because that is all there is. I'm showing this as just a small little drawing here, but in fact, it's the vastness. So what I'm talking about the field, it's the energetic field that supports whatever we're experiencing. So what you're doing, you're part of the field, you're in the field, but you're a representation of a certain spectrums and encodements that presents what you call a holographic expression of yourself. So when you're putting it in the field, everything is around you. So you're just putting it in the space, which is part of your space, but that space. But what happens is, I'm just going to draw this now, but this is you, or us, whoever. This is us. So when you're taking it, you're putting it into the field. This field is pure source essence. So what we do, anything we create, we have to tap into this field. It's full spectrum light, full spectrum consciousness. It is what is the very fabric of existence. There is nothing in it with pure potentiality. So what we do is we take that energy, that consciousness, that spectrum of light, and we create what looks like form. So whatever we bring in as a representation, expression, or experience is coming from the field and we express and experience it, then it becomes what we can call form, but we also have a definition and label about what that is. So when you take something from your spectrum of your signature expression, meaning your body and whatever part of that construct is, you're taking from this and you're putting it back in the field. The moment you put it back into the field and you have no more attachment to it or holding that energy, it goes back to pure, full spectrum, source, light, energy, consciousness. So it becomes non-form and just pure potentiality, pure essence of sourceness. And then from that, it becomes part of that field in non-form state, which is pure, usable as any other form. But it also has additional consciousness and an experience that affects the whole form. So when you're creating an experience, the fabric of what you're seeing around you, your reality, the world reality and so forth, is just utilizing that form and using what we call consciousness or certain various consciousness and encodements to create what looks like form. Because in non-form state, it's all source. And we are all source. Even though that we're seeing ourselves as form, it's just using certain spectrums of that light to see a form, to experience a form, and so forth. But without that encodement, there is no form. There's a source. The source has made it very specifically for that so that it can experience itself in various, I will even use the various multitudes of expressions, multitudes of ways to create what looks like realities to experience itself. And we are that, and we are experiencing ourselves. Now, each one of us has this particular signature and so forth, so that we experience it a very specific way based on slightly different from each aspect of it. Even your twin soul, your twin signature will have different creations, different experiences within itself, because that's how it's done. But every soul basically has a different signature, except for your twins, which have the same, but they're also creating. But it all comes in the field. So what you're doing is you're putting back, and the field's all around you. Everything around you is the field. In fact, you're part of that field. However, you've created a localized expression. So what you're doing is you're taking form, and that form can be just thought forms, could be energetic forms, it could be emotional charges, or whatever it may be, and you're just putting it in the field. It's a great question because a lot of times people that have not followed the work, and I've explained it before, may not understand it, so this gives you an idea what the field is. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about that or anything? Good. So use that. This is a tool provided for you today, and the reason I provide it today because we were going to go a different route for this episode. We were going to just handle some questions that have been coming in, and we have quite a number of them. And then this morning when I woke up, when I came out of my so-called sleep state, the message was very powerful that we need to do this. Of course, I used part of it myself and my own experience, but then I was like, oh, this is important for us to share this today, and it supersedes the questions right now. So great. Then I went on the computer and put together what we were going to talk about today, did a little write-up on it, posted it, and here we are to play. Because this is the most current of what the collective has been asking, the collective that are here today, and the collective that we're watching at a later date too. This is going to be available. It's available on Facebook, of course it's available on YouTube, and I will be posting it on Vimeo. I did not stream it on Vimeo today because the bandwidth is a little tight, and to have a third stream on the existing bandwidth at this point in time would have been an issue, and for some reason Vimeo is not working the way it used to be working, where I can actually simulcast at the same time. So for some reason it's not doing that. So I will post a video with the write-up and everything else on Vimeo too for the ones that do follow on Vimeo. One of the easy things about Vimeo is that you can download it too if you want to keep a copy of it or do something else with it. But anyways. So if there's nothing else, then I think we've covered today's episode, and we're going to connect again next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. We're right at the end of the month, so that will be the last one that we will do of the sequence of 3 in a week. And after Tuesday, then it'll be the following Tuesday. So it's going to be once a week on Tuesday at 4 p.m., which we'll do a brand new live stream episode. Fairly soon, we'll have the podcast coming out. We're still working, doing the preparation for it. Not sure exactly how long it'll take to go along, but that will be available also, and that will come out 5 times a week. It'll be shorter, of course, and it'll be pre-recorded, so they're not going to be live. They're going to be available on video and audio. So all the audio platforms will have that. These are platforms we're not currently using now, but we will, including iTunes and whatever else. And then, of course, we'll have a new YouTube channel that will have all of this. So it's going to be called Advancing Consciousness Podcast. And I won't be using the board or anything of that nature. I'll be sitting more in front of the computer, of course, the camera and everything else, and using an actual mic besides this, and doing it from that perspective. Also wanted to remind you, anyone that has missed the workshop that we did, can you press number 2 there, because it'll show it up. Anybody that's missed our workshop that we did about 2 weeks ago, that was on deprogramming, clearing, and empowerment, I do highly recommend it. It's very powerful. It's available in video and audio. You get both. The link is in the comment, and it's also in the description. So there's 2 ways to access it. It will bring you to the Teachable website. We were hosting it also on Eventbrite. It still is there, but it's coming off. But it's going to be available on Teachable, and it will be audios and videos will be available for that, which you can watch on their platform, or you can download it and then watch it at your convenience, as long both video and audio. There's a lot of processes, hands-on, working on certain things and so forth. It will help you work and utilize components and tools to help you deprogramming, clearing, and also empowerment. Anybody that's actually, been with us live or has also accessed the video and audio recording. Now, if you were live, you get the automatically get the video and audio recording. If you got it separately, that's fine. If somebody wants to comment on the comments, what your experience was, please feel free to do so. So that's that, and I once again thank everybody for coming together. I thank everybody for your contributions and assistance and so forth. It's been helping us to be able to get whatever we require to be able to fine-tune this even further, and to also to provide more content, and at the same time also support us on our journey while we focus more of the shifting of providing more content. Right now it's a very powerful time for us to come together, so I'm using this opportunity right now for us to come together. I know we've been doing this for a couple of months now. Anybody that's brand new, the easiest is to go either on Vimeo or YouTube and be able to watch it under Advancing Consciousness series. All the videos are there. I know it's on Facebook too, and the best way to go there, sometimes you'll have to scroll through a lot. So if you go to the Advancing Consciousness series group page, which is available, then all the videos are there. I will be also posting on YouTube and so forth at this time, including Facebook, some of the other content that we haven't put out yet, that were shows that have not been put up as videos and audios, and other informational videos that have been done. So there'll be that will be streaming along the next several months too. So we'll be adding more of that. They won't be live stream, of course. They'll just be posting. But okay, thank you again. Take everything that has been offered and Please repeat it and just go out and have a blast.